Alright guys, for Dexter, we are going to go ahead and we are going to grab some yarn. We are going to be using Aran weight yarn and a 3.75mm hook for this. If you choose to use a different size yarn and hook, just make sure that you are able to crochet the yarn tight enough with the hook that you choose so that you don't have any holes poking through for when you stuff it. And one of the things to pay attention, while gauge is not really important for this pattern, is that you want your safety eyes to cover rows 13 through 16 of the head when you complete the head. So for cotton Aran and for the 3.75, we are going to be using 18mm eyes. The yarn that I am using is Paintbox Cotton Aran. We are going to be using pistachio green for this tutorial today. Inside the pattern itself, I actually used racing green, but we're going to change it up for this one. I am also going to be using the same tomato red coffee bean, and I'm going to be using black for the accents. Now you're going to need 225 yards of your main color if you are making the Dilophosaurus. If you are going to make the raptor variation, then you could probably get away with 2. It takes about 25 yards less to make the raptor version than it does for the Dilophosaurus. For your accent colors for your neck, you're only going to use about 10 to 15 yards, so you do not need to have much yarn of this, and you're actually going to be using even less of your cotton, your black. Black is just mainly for the stitching on the smile and the nostrils and your claws. So in addition to that, you're going to need stitch markers, you're going to need a needle, you're going to need some polyfill stuffing, and you're going to need a pair of scissors. We are going to go ahead and get started with the body. This pattern is worked from the tail to the top half of the body. And we're going to be working into the round, and we are going to be stuffing as we go. So round 1, we're going to go ahead and make a magic circle or a magic ring. You can go ahead and chain 1, and then you're going to place 5 single crochet into your magic circle. And go ahead and pull it close. Rounds 2 through 4, we're going to go ahead and just place 1 single crochet into each stitch around. So we're going to have 3 rounds of 5 stitches. So we're going to go ahead and put these in. Go ahead and pause that video and come on back when you are ready to go into the next stitch. Okay, now that we're back, round 5, we're going to go ahead and we're going to place 2 single crochet into that first stitch. And then we're going to place a stitch marker so we do not lose that first stitch. And then you're going to go ahead and single crochet into the remaining 4 stitches. Okay. Then once we get done there, we're going to go ahead and take the stitch marker out. Rounds 6 through 8, we're going to just place a single crochet into each of the 6 stitches around. So we're going to have 3 rounds of 6 stitches. Now we're back at round 9. We're going to go ahead and remove that marker. We're going to place 2 single crochet into that first stitch. And then we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each of the remaining 5 stitches around. Now rounds 10 through 12, we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each of the 7 stitches around. We're going to have a total of 3 rounds of 7 stitches. And now we're back, round 13. We're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into that first stitch. And then we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each of the 6 remaining stitches. Take that one out. Okay, for rounds 14 through 16, we are going to go ahead and we are going to place a single crochet into each stitch around. So we're going to do 3 rounds total of 8 stitches. Right around now is when I like to start stuffing the tail. So we're just going to go ahead and take small little bits of stuffing. I usually take the stitch marker out and pull this a little bit just so I can get that in there. We're going to take little bits of stuffing and just push it all the way back through. You should usually have a stick that comes with your stuffing. If not, orange sticks that you use for your fingernails, or a pencil. You can get small dowels, whatever works. And we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to stuff until we get to about where we're working. And we're going to continue to do this as we work along the piece, and then this will help it so that it stays nice and firm, and that we don't have any like lumps of stuffing as we're going, because we're trying to stuff too much stuffing into tiny little spaces. And then I usually find that it helps to kind of press as you stuff and make sure it goes into shape. Alright, now that we got that stuffed up, we're going to go ahead and put our hook back in to our stitch, and we're going to start round 17. And for round 17, we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into this first stitch from the hook here. Alright, remember we're going to mark. Now you're going to notice that I do 2 stitches before I put my stitch marker in. I just find it's easier to work the second stitch if I wait until I have 1 in there. And then we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each of the next 7 stitches. 2 and 7. Oh, go ahead and take that stitch marker out now because we don't need it there. Now for rounds 18 and 19, we're just going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each of the 9 stitches around, and we're going to do that for a total of 2 rounds of 9 stitches. Alright guys, and I'm back at round 20. Round 20, we're going to place 2 single crochet into that first stitch, and then we're going to go ahead and place 1 single crochet into each of the remaining 8 stitches around. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to, for rounds 21 through 22, we're going to go ahead and single crochet into each stitch around for a total 2 rounds of 10 stitches each. Okay, for round 23, we're going to go ahead and place two single crochet into that first stitch. Then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the remaining 9 stitches. Okay, right now I'm going to go ahead and just top off that stuffing. I feel it's starting to get a little bit wobbly there. Okay, rounds 24 and 25, we're just going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each stitch around. That's going to make 2 rounds of 11 stitches each round. Okay, round 26, we are going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into this first stitch. And then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into each of the 10 remaining stitches around. Okay. And then round 27, we're going to go ahead and single crochet into each stitch around. Round 28, we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet to that first stitch. And we're going to single crochet in each of the remaining 11 stitches around. Then round 29, we're going to go ahead and single crochet 1 stitch into each stitch around for a total of 13 stitches. Round 30, we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet stitches into that first stitch. And then we're going to place 1 single crochet into each of the remaining 12 stitches. Round 31, we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each stitch around. Okay, at the end of round 31, you're going to have 14 stitches around, and we're going to go ahead and we are going to stuff some more. Make sure we're getting that stuffing in there nice and even. around if you need to. Alright. Now round 32, we're going to do 2 single crochet into that first stitch. And we're going to place 1 single crochet into each of the remaining 13 stitches. Okay, we have 15 stitches around. Now round 33, we're going to go ahead, we're going to place 2 single crochet into that first stitch. And now you're going to place a single crochet into the next 4 stitches. 2, 3, 4. We're going to go ahead and repeat that 2 more times around. So we're going to do 2 single crochet and then 4 individual single crochets. We're going to end up with 18 stitches for the end of the round. So we're going to do 2 single crochet, 2, 3, 4, and then 1 more time. We're just going to go ahead and do that. And 4. Stitch marker fell out. Okay, now rounds 34 and 35, we're just going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each stitch around. We're going to end up with 2 rounds of 18 stitches. Okay guys, round 36, we're going to go ahead and we're going to place 2 single crochet into the next stitch. And mark that first stitch. And then we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, this here repeat, we're going to repeat 2 more times this round. So we're going to do 2 single crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to single crochet into the next 5 stitches, and we're going to repeat that 2 more times until we hit that marker. Okay, now we are back at round 37. We have 21 stitches going around. Now for this round, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make 2 half double crochets into the next stitch. And then we're going to make a half double crochet into the next 6 stitches. Go ahead and mark that stitch. 2. In the next stitch, we're going to go ahead and we're going to place 2 single crochet, and then we're going to place a single crochet into the next 6 stitches, and then we're going to go ahead and repeat that last section. So we're going to do 2 more single crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to single crochet into the next 6 stitches. We're going to end this round at 24 stitches. Now we're going to go ahead and do a jump section. Now this is a section of stitches that once we make them, we pretend that they are not there anymore. They are there purely because of the spiral that gets into a project as you're working it in the round that can sometimes make lining things up and shaping a little bit off kilter. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and counteract that spiral as it's being created so that when we get to the end, everything lines up correctly. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to place a half double crochet into the next 8 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now if you are unsure whether you are in the right stitches or not, you're going to have those half double crochets from round 37 and you're going to line up right with them this stitch here is going to be where your stitch marker goes from here on out. This is your first stitch. These 8 stitches we made, pretend they don't exist. They're no longer being counted. So now we are going to go ahead and start on round 38. And round 38 is a section of 6 repeats. So we're going to repeat this next section that we do 6 times a round, and we're going to increase the next couple rounds by 6 stitches each. So what we're going to do for round 38 is we're going to go ahead and we're going to place 2 single crochet into that first stitch. And again, now remember, this is now the stitch that you mark from here on out. And then we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into the next 3 stitches. 2, 3. And this right here is what we're going to go ahead and repeat around a total of 6 times. So we're going to do 2 single crochet followed by 3 single crochet stitches. Okay, and we are back at round 39, and we have 30 single crochet stitches around. And we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into our first stitch of round 39. Remember to mark it. And then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now this here section we're going to go ahead and repeat 5 more times. So we have 6 times around. We're going to end up at 36 stitches. So go ahead and 2 single crochet. Okay, and we are back at round 40. In round 40 we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into that first stitch. Make sure to mark it. And then we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. 3, 4, 5. And now we're going to go ahead and repeat this section that we just did around 5 more times. So we're going to go ahead and single crochet twice into this next stitch. And then we're going to follow it up with 5 more single crochets. Okay, at the end of round 40, we're going to have 42 stitches around, and we're going to go ahead and just top off our stuffing into the base of the tail. Don't worry about coming too much into the body just yet, as there'll be plenty of time to stuff that as we go, but once we get the body going, it's a little bit harder to make sure your tail is stuffed as you like it. So just make sure you've got the tail topped off. And then we're going to continue on with round 41. Now this is where the shaping is going to start for the body. So round 41, we're going to place a half double crochet into the next 21 stitches. So go ahead and make sure you mark that. So it's 1, 2, 20, and 21. Okay, after you make those 21 half double crochet, you're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 9 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to single crochet the 2 together, the next 2 stitches together. We're going to use the invisible decrease method. To do that, just go ahead and place your hook in underneath your front loop of the next 2 stitches. Go ahead and yarn, pull it through, and then yarn over and pull it through. Okay, and we single crocheted that together. Now we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 10 stitches. And 10. I'm going to end up that round on 41 stitches around because we took in that 1 decrease that brought it from 42 to 41. So now for round 42, we're going to go ahead and we're going to place a half double crochet into the first 21 stitches yet again, just like we did in the previous round. And after those 21 half double crochets, we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 9 stitches. 9 stitches, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to decrease yet again. So single crochet the next 2 stitches together, Again, doing only under the front loop for the invisible decrease. And then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the remaining 9 stitches of the round. And 9. This is going to end us up at 40 stitches at the end of round 42. Okay, for round 43, we're going to go ahead and single crochet now into the next 26 stitches. Okay, and after those 26 single crochets, we're going to go ahead and do 4 decreases. So we're going to go ahead and single crochet together, single crochet together, single crochet together, and again I'm doing the invisible decreases. And then single crochet together. And then we're just going to go ahead and single crochet into the remaining 6 stitches of the round. Rounds 44 to 46, we're going to go ahead and single crochet into each stitch around. That's going to be 3 rounds total of 36 stitches. Okay, for rounds 47 and 48, we are going to go ahead and we are going to be doing the same round into 2 rounds, although it is a little bit tricky. So for round 47, we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 11 stitches. 11. Now we're going to go ahead and we are going to place 2 single crochet into the next stitch. And then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 16 stitches. 15 and 16. And now we're going to go ahead and we are going to single crochet the next 2 stitches together. And then we're going to single crochet into the remaining 6 stitches. And again, we're going to go ahead and repeat this section again into round 48. So we're going to single crochet 11, then we're going to do 2 single crochet into the next stitch, single crochet into the next 16 stitches, single crochet together, and then single crochet into the next 6 stitches. Okay, at the end of round 48, we're going to have 36 stitches. And we're going to go ahead now and we're just going to stuff again, place some stuffing in there. Make sure that you make sure to get some stuffing into the section down below. So we're just going to place some stuffing in there, pack it in. Okay, for round 49, we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each of the next 12 stitches. Then we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into the next stitch. Then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 16 stitches. Now we're going to go ahead and single crochet 2 together. And then we're going to single crochet into the next 5 remaining stitches. For rounds 50 through 52, we're going to single crochet into each stitch around. We're going to do 3 rounds total of 36 stitches. Okay, for round 53, we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 24 stitches. And now we're going to go ahead and make 6 decreases. So we're going to do single crochet 2 together 6 times. Okay, now for round 54, we're going to go ahead and we're going to single crochet the first 2 stitches together, and then we're going to single crochet 2 together again. And then we're going to single crochet into the next 18 stitches. 18. And after we do those 18 single crochets, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do 4 more single crochet 2 togethers in the remaining 8 stitches. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to take another stitch marker and we're going to place it around the second to last decrease that we just did. Now this stitch marker we're going to go ahead and close, and we're just going to leave this here. This is where when we make the neck, the bottom peak of the neck is going to be. So for right now, just leave that marked. We're going to be getting back to that at another time down the road. Now we're going to go ahead and just make sure we're stuffing. Make sure we're stuffing it pretty firm. Go ahead and stuff it as firm as you can. Make sure you're filling in all the shapes. Okay, now for round 55, we're going to go ahead and single crochet 2 together. So we're going to decrease, and then we're going to decrease again, and go ahead and stitch mark that. And then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 12 stitches. And then we're going to go ahead and decrease 4 more times. Now remember, this last decrease is going to go into the marked stitch and the stitch right next to it. So we're going to go ahead and single crochet these 2 together. This might be a little bit tricky if you're not used to working around stitch markers, but that's okay. Just go ahead until you get it. If you have to take that stitch out, just remember where it is and put the marker back in. Alright, we have 18 stitches after the end of round 55. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to single crochet 2 together. And then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next stitch. And then we're going to repeat that around 5 more times. Okay, and now we're back to round 57. Just go ahead and straighten out your stuffing if you need to. Now if you have a little bit of holes here in this section here, don't worry about this too much. We're going to be covering this with the neck piece. Just make sure you're nice and you're stuffed. If you need to add a little bit more stuffing, go ahead and do so now, because after this next one it's going to be a little bit tight to do so. So just go ahead and add stuffing if you need to. And then round 57, we're going to go ahead and decrease 6 times around, and that's going to bring us back to. Now what we're going to do here after we make this last stitch is we're going to go ahead and we are going to pull our loop out, and we're going to go ahead and we are going to cut our yarn. Now we're going to take a look and see if we need to add any more stuffing, and if so, we're just going to fill it in. I'm sorry about that noise. Alright, we're going to go ahead and stuff it and fill it in. Just make sure we're good. And then once we have this all ready to go and we're happy with how it's stuffed, now keep in mind when you're stuffing, you want to stuff firm, but you do not want stuffing to show through your stitches. Now, with the way that this is designed, you may see some stuffing through here, but again, this is going to be covered, so don't worry about that. But just make sure you're not seeing stuffing through these stitches. You might see a little bit through the half double crochet, but that's okay. And then once you're happy with how it's stuffed, you're going to go ahead and grab your yarn needle, and you're going to go ahead and thread your needle, and then you're going to go around and you're going to pick up the front loop only of each stitch of 57. So you're going to have 6 front loops you're going to work. And again, we're leaving the stitch marker right where it is, and we will come back to that after we make the neck. So once we have all 6 front loops only of round 57, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to pull that tight. We're going to close up our body, and then what I like to do is I like to take my tail and I like to just make sure that it's nice and secure by going into a couple of the rounds. And just weaving it in. And then once I have it weaved in, couple rounds. I'm gonna just go ahead and bring it back in and bring it up. Right there is good. And then we're just gonna go ahead and snip off the extra, and then we're just gonna push that back in. And there you have it. You have your body piece of your dinosaur. Next, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put this aside, and we are gonna go ahead and work on the neck. Okay guys, now we're going to go ahead and make the neck. We're going to take your body color yet again. And this is also worked in the round. We're going to go ahead and place 6 single crochet into the magic ring. Round 2, we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into each stitch around. Okay, round 3, we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into that first stitch. And then we're going to place a single crochet into the next stitch. This here section here, we're going to repeat another 5 times so that we have 6 repeats of this 2 single crochet and a single crochet. And we're going to work it until we get to the stitch marker. And we're going to have 18 stitches when we are done. Now we are going to go ahead and we are at round 4. Round 4, we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into that first stitch. Then we're going to place single crochet into the next 2 stitches. 1 and 2. Now we're going to go ahead and repeat that 5 more times until we hit the stitch marker, and we have 24 stitches in the round. Round 5, we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each stitch around. Okay, for round 6, we're going to go ahead and chain 12 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. And we're going to go ahead and we are going to skip 12 stitches in the body here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now we're going to go ahead and place our stitch here in the 13th stitch. We're going to go ahead and single crochet, and then this here stitch we're going to go ahead and we're going to place our marker in, and that is where our new start of the round is going to be from here on out. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is single crochet into the remaining 11 stitches. And now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to place 12 stitches along the chain that we made. Okay, after we have our 12 stitches, we're going to take our marker out. In round 7, we're going to go ahead and we are going to single crochet 2 stitches together, and then we're going to single crochet into the next 2 stitches. Now make sure we go ahead and mark that first stitch we made, and then we're going to repeat this around 5 more times. Okay, at the end of round 7, you're going to have 18 stitches around. For round 8, we're going to go ahead and single crochet 2 stitches together, and then we're going to single crochet into the next stitch. And once again, we're going to go ahead and repeat that around 5 more times until we hit the stitch marker. For round 9, we're just going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each of the 12 stitches around. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we are going to take our 2 sides and we are going to fold them together as such. Now you're going to have the little, where you made the chain, you're going to have a little, basically like a little hat here, and you're just going to pinch it together. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take our yarn and we're going to skip this next stitch here. So we're going to skip this stitch and we're going to work through this stitch and this stitch here, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to single crochet that together, and then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing into the next 2, single crochet, until we have 4 single crochets going across. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're just going to go ahead and slip stitch underneath this edge here. And you're going to have a seam with 4 single crochets and a slip stitch, and you're going to have it where it's folded in the side view, just so you know what you're looking at here. And then after you do that, you're going to go ahead and chain 1 and you're going to turn. And from this point forward, we're going to be working in rows, no longer working in the round. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to skip this stitch. We're going to single crochet into the next 3 stitches. And then we're going to go ahead and place a slip stitch in that last stitch. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to go ahead and turn. Now for row 3, we're going to go ahead and we're going to skip this first stitch, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to place a single crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to go ahead and put a slip stitch in that last stitch. We're going to chain 1 and turn. Now for row 4, we're going to skip this first stitch and we're going to go ahead and single crochet the last 2 stitches together. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to pull out a long tail, because we're going to be using this for sewing, and we're going to go ahead and fasten off. Now that is your neck piece. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take our body now that we have our neck piece. And we're going to go ahead and take it, and we're going to take the tip of row 4 that we just did, where the tail end is. I'm going to line it up with that stitch that we marked on the body. And that's in round 54 of the body. It's the second to last stitch. We're going to just put a pin there to hold it into place. And we're going to bring this up and over, and we're going to put it right around round 50. So this would be 54, so we've got 3, 2, 1, 50, which would be right about there. And we're just gonna, I'm gonna use another pin. Now if you don't have pins, that's okay, but I highly recommend them, especially with this, because it'll help you put them together. Another way is just to kind of hold your stitch markers and hold it in place. Now you see where this is, and this is the side. We're going to go ahead and we are going to take our yarn needle, and we are going to thread our yarn on the needle, and we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to seam this to the body, and we're just going to seam it, and we're just going to sew it around and pull it to the body. Now once we get up to the top, we are going to lightly stuff the neck. Oh, that is caught on my stitch marker. And I'm just stitching around. And we're just going to continue to sew. And we're going to take just a little bit of stuffing, not a lot, just a little bit, and we're just going to stuff up underneath this little cap here on the body. And this is where the head is going to rest once we make the head, and it just brings it up, and then this will be the chest piece that comes back down around the arms, and that is what we're building here. So we're just going to go ahead, and you don't want to overly stuff it, just very, very lightly, and then you can go ahead and sew. As you can see, it's starting to take shape now. Go ahead and take that off. You can actually remove your stitch marker at this point if you find it easier. Which we're going to go ahead and do. We're going to remove that stitch marker. And then we're just going to go ahead and finish up seaming. And once we get back to the end where we started, we're just going to go ahead and make sure we've got that in there nice and secure. And then we're just going to go ahead and we see where we have the head, the neck, and we are going to go ahead and do what I did with the body, and we're just going to go ahead and just weave it in just a little bit to make it secure, once or twice back and forth, and then I just bring it in and we'll just bring it out back there. I'm just going to pull it through, not tightly because we don't really want to make any kind of, there we go, and we're just going to snip it off and lose it in the body. And there you go, you have your neck made. Just make sure your stuffing is shaped, and we are going to go on to the next part. Okay guys, we're going to move on to head part 1 here, and the head is made in 2 parts. This is the first section. We're going to be using our body colored yarn, and this is worked into the round. So we're going to go ahead and start with a magic ring, and we're going to make 6 single crochets into that magic ring, and we're going to go ahead and pull it tight. Okay, in round 2 we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochets into each stitch around, bringing that up to 12 stitches. So we're going to, now for round 3, we're going to go ahead and we're going to place 2 single crochets into that first stitch. Go ahead and mark your stitch, and we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next stitch. And we're going to repeat this 5 more times around so that we have 18 stitches. So we're going to single crochet twice in the same stitch and then single crochet into the next stitch. Okay guys, we're going to head back at round 4, and we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochets into the first stitch, and then we're going to single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. And just like the last round, we're going to go ahead and repeat this around 5 more times till we get back to the marker, and we're going to end the round at 24 stitches. Alright guys, we are back at round 5. We're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into that first stitch, and then we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. So go ahead and mark that first stitch so that we don't lose our place. 2 and 3, and we're going to go ahead and repeat this around 5 more times until we end up with 30 stitches for the round. Alright, when we get to round 6, we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into that first stitch, and then we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. 2, 3, and 4, and we're going to go ahead and repeat this 5 more times around until we get back to the stitch marker and we wind up with 36 stitches. Okay guys, rounds 7 through 11, we are going to go ahead and single crochet in each of the 36 stitches around. This is going to be a total of 5 rounds of 36 stitches. So we're going to go ahead and place in the single crochets, and remember to place your marker. And go ahead and pause that video and come on back when you're ready. Okay guys, for round 12, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to single crochet into the next 15 stitches, and then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to single crochet 2 together 3 times. So we're going to go ahead and single crochet together 1, single crochet together 2, and single crochet together 3. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to take a stitch marker and we're going to put it around that second single crochet 2 together, much like we did when we were making the body. this is going to signal the middle of the head. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that in there, just like that. And we're just gonna leave this be. So snap it together. And now what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna go ahead and place a single crochet in the remaining 15 stitches. Okay, for round 13, what we're gonna go ahead and do is we are going to single crochet 2 stitches together. And then we're going to single crochet into the next 9 stitches, and we're going to go ahead and repeat this a total of 3 times till we get back to the marker. Alright, when we get to round 14, we're going to go ahead and single crochet 2 together, and then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. Go ahead and mark that first decrease so we know where we're at. And then we're going to go ahead and repeat this 5 more times till we get to this orange marker, which would be your original marker. So we have 24 stitches at the end of round 14. Okay, rounds 15 and 16, we're going to go ahead and place a stitch into each stitch around. It's going to be 2 rounds of 24 stitches. Okay, when we get back to round 17, we're going to go ahead and single crochet 2 stitches together, and then we're going to single crochet into the next 2 stitches. And we're going to bring this around. We're going to repeat 5 more times back to the stitch marker until we have 18 stitches around. Okay, once we're done with round 17, we're going to go ahead and we're going to stuff the head. If you haven't already been stuffing it, just go ahead and stuff it and fill it out, because we're going to go ahead and place our eyes in. Okay, once we have our head stuffed, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and put our eyes in. Now we're going to place the eyes between rounds 14 and 15, and we're going to have 8 stitches between them across the top of the head. Now remember, this stitch here that is in the marker is the top center of the head. So we're going to go ahead and put our eyes in between rounds 14 and 15, and an easy way to get there is, remember, we just did round 17. So rounds 17, 16, 15, 14, they're going to go in here. And we're going to put it at the side of the head. This is the top center. And we want it to stretch between rounds 13 and 16. So 13, 14, 15, 16. So if you are using a different yarn and hook, you may need to change your eye size here. We are using an 18mm eye again with the Aran and the 3.75 hook. And I got these eyes at Suncatcher Craft Eyes. I'll put a link below. Her dragon eyes are fantastic for this pattern. And we're just going to go ahead and put the washers into the back, make sure they're on good and tight, and then we're going to go ahead and put the other eye in. We're going to have 8 stitches. Now it's a good idea to know where your eyes are going before you bracket them. And then we're just going to make sure that if you're using cat eyes, you want the pupil to go up and down. And now that we have the eyes in, we're going to go ahead and continue on with round 18. And rounds 18 through 20, we're going to go ahead and single crochet into each stitch around. It's going to be 3 rounds total of 18 stitches. Okay, when we get back to round 21, we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 7 stitches. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is, working in the front loop only of the next stitch, we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet, a half double crochet, and another single crochet. Now we're going to go ahead and work back into both loops of the next 4 stitches. And we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now in this next stitch we're going to go ahead and do just what we did over here, and we're going to work in the front loop only, and we're going to place a single crochet, a half double crochet, and a single crochet. And then we're going to go ahead and work in both loops of the last 5 stitches in single crochet. 2, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to fasten off. We don't need a long tail for this because we're just going to go ahead and weave in the end on this one. And what these are is these are going to be the little nostril flares when we add on the second part of the head. So just go ahead and finish stuffing this nice and firm. You can go ahead and remove your stitch marker and finish shaping up the head. And this is head part 1, and you have your dino head. And this here we're just going to go ahead and weave it on in. We do not need this tail because when we make the second half of the head we will be using that yarn tail to sew it together. So we're just going to fasten this off and just weave it on in. And again, I like to just stitch it in. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and clip off the extra. And that is head part 1. Head part 2 is going to be worked in our body yarn again, and we're going to work in the round. We're going to go ahead and make 6 single crochet into a magic ring. For round 2, we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into each of the 6 stitches around. Now for round 3 of the head part 2, we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into the first stitch, and then we're going to place a single crochet into the next stitch. And we're going to go ahead and mark that so we know where we're at, and we're going to repeat this 5 times around so that we have 18 stitches. And when we get back to the stitch marker, we're going to go ahead and we're going to fasten off, and we're going to leave a long tail for sewing. And we're going to go ahead and thread our needle onto the tail, and we are going to go ahead and we are going to sew this to the head part 1. Now we are going to want to stuff a little bit more into the head as we get it closed. So, and this is really easy sew, and we're just going to seam it around with whip stitches. So we're just going to go in and under in each stitch around. And when we get to the nostril, where we have the nostril, we're going to actually seam it in the unworked back loop only stitch down in here. So we are not going to seam the 3 stitches. So we have the single crochet, we're going to go ahead and seam that one right here, and then we have the unworked back loop down here, and that's what we're going to seam. And then we're going to skip the 3 stitches, and we're going to go back to where it was double. And remember, there's 4 stitches. And then we're going to go ahead back into that back loop only stitch that we didn't work in, inside of the nostril. I'm going to weave that right there. Got caught up on the nostril there. Get off of there. And pull that tight. We're going to skip these 3 stitches and we're going to work into both loops again. And we're going to pull it. And now is about the time you want to make sure it's stuffed as much as you want it to. I'm going to add just a little bit more stuffing in there because I think it needs just a little bit more. And we're just going to continue on now and just seam it up the rest of the way. Just continuing those whip stitches around. And just make sure it's nice and tight. And then once I get to the end, once again I'm just going to bring it in and I'm going to go ahead and weave that stitch in. But instead of clipping it off this time, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this tail that's really long and we're going to go ahead and bring it in to right about there in the center between the eyes. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to use this here to go ahead and sew it onto the body. And what we're going to do is we're going to check. We want it to be center. And we want it to rest about rounds 8 through 12 of the head. So how are we going to find that? The easiest way to find it is, now remember, this sits on row 13, from round 13 through 16. So we're going to want to put the head right about there. So that's 12, 11, 10, 9, and 8. So we want to attach the head about these here. And we're going to go ahead, we're going to attach it around round 3 of the body. So make sure it's straight. I find pinning helps a lot. So you want to make sure that you have your head on straight. And we're just going to go ahead. We're going to place it about where we want it. And we're going to make sure that we have it pinned into place so that it's nice and easy to sew. And make sure it's on straight. I find that when you pin, a lot of times you can prevent issues. Like right now, if we were to sew this, his head would be crooked, and we don't want that. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to straighten it out so that the eyes are nice and straight on the body. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to pin it so that I know where I'm sewing. Now, of course, you might want it crooked if you want to give him a little bit of an attitude where he's cocking his head over to the side. But I think with this guy, we're going to just sew him on nice and straight. And we're just going to go ahead, and all we're going to do is we're just going to seam by whip stitching around. And this is a little tricky, and this is where if you have a curved needle, this makes it nice and easy to join. Like you can have one of the bent tip needles. I don't actually have one of those right now around, so we're going to do this with the straight needle, but that's okay. And we're just going to go ahead and just bring it up, and we're just going to sew it. And we're just going to go ahead and we're going to do that all the way around, and just take your time and sew it into place. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and take our black yarn and we're going to stitch on a smile, and we're going to want the end to be about 2 stitches down from the eyes at about round 14. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring it in and up, and we're going to work back stitches. So we're going to go ahead and bring that up, and we will eventually sew that back in. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to work about 2 stitches, and we're just going to back stitch it. Now when I come back up, I like to go in between the yarn that I just was using, and we're gonna bring this about right there. And we're gonna bring this up. We're gonna go about to right there. And bring it up. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually go in, because this is getting wrapped around. I find that this is easier. And we're just gonna come up on the other side, right about here. And then we're just gonna make sure that we're even, because we're not. We're gonna go back down. We're gonna come back right here. I'm just gonna bring it down. I'm going to bring it back up. Remember, we're saying about 2 stitches down from the eye. I'm just going to back stitch. To about round 14. And then that'll be about even. And then I like to just go back in if I didn't double up on any of them and just smooth it out. And just bring that in. I'm just going to bring this down here, and then I'm actually going to bring this up, and I'm going to bring it down and out just a little bit right down in here in a stitch, and then that's just going to bring that in. Make sure it's not tangled. And then I'm going to take this yarn, which is where we had started, and I'm going to go ahead and bring that back out right in the same stitch as the other one. Bring it up in the same stitch. I'm going to tuck that down. And then what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to tie 2 little knots in the mouth. Just tie it. And then I'm going to cut it relatively close. And then I'm going to take my needle and I'm just going to poke that knot back inside. And there you go, we have the mouth on. This is just a basic way how I make my mouth. It's nothing fancy. You're gonna find what works for you. You might like a different method. Another thing that you could do is take some black roving and needle felt on the mouth and the nostrils. But for right now, this is just a very simple back stitch on mouth that's gonna fall about row 14 of the eyes and just around the front. And now we're gonna go ahead and just put 2 stitches inside each of the nostril. So we're going to take some black yarn. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to come up from a stitch underneath, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring it up, and then I'm going to bring it in, and then I'm going to bring it over. So now we're going into where the stitch is, and we're going to come out on the other side, and then we're just going to come right back down, even with that, and come right back down the hole. And there's your nostrils. And what we're going to do with this is the same thing that we did with the mouth. we're just going to tie a couple little knots, and then we're just going to tighten this off. There we go. And we're just going to poke it inside like it doesn't exist. We're going to go ahead and work these into rows. We're going to take our body color. We're going to go ahead and chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now for the right side, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put 3 half double crochets into the second chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to half double crochet into the next chain, and then we're going to single crochet into the next 2 chains, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to slip stitch into this last stitch here. Then we're going to go ahead and fasten off. We're going to leave a long tail. I probably leave longer tails than needs to, but I like to make sure I have enough. So this is going to be the right eyebrow. Now we need to make the left eyebrow. So to make the left eyebrow, we're going to go ahead and chain 6 again. So chain 6, 1, clear this out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the second chain from the hook this time. And now we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 2 chains. 1, 2, and then we're going to go ahead and we are going to half double crochet into the next chain. Now into the last chain, we're going to go ahead and half double crochet 3 times. So 1, 2, 3, and then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to place a single crochet, and we're going to go ahead and slip stitch, and then we're going to fasten this off, and we're going to leave a nice long tail to sew. So now that we've got this fastened off, this is our left eyebrow. Now I place my eyebrows when you're looking at the face. This is my right hand, this is my left hand, and that is what I use to judge. So we're going to take the left eyebrow and we're going to go ahead and we're going to stick it over the eye between rounds 13 and round 16. And I find that if I put a pin in, it holds it into place better so that I can go ahead and get this stitched on. Now you're going to take and thread your needle, and you're going to go ahead and work it really close to the eye, and you're going to go ahead and just sew on along the bottom edge. You don't want to sew in to the top part because you want it to stick up. So we're just going to go ahead and now we're going to bring the needle, and again, if you have a bent needle, this might be easier for you. We're just going to sew up, working slightly under the eye, and into the chains. This might take some needle finagling, but that's okay. Until, and this will be there. And then once you get to round 13, just bring this back down. You want it to be, he has some attitude, he's a dinosaur. The eyebrows is where you can get some expressions. You can bring them back and make them sleepy. You can bring them forward and make them kind of angry. But we're going to play it right there. And then I'm just going to bring this in, tighten it up. I'm going to go ahead and stitch it into a couple. weave it in, get it nice and secure. And then I'm just going to bring it out. And we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to clip off the edge, the extra. And as for the first tail, I just find it easier. You could weave it in before you sew it. You don't need this one to attach, but I find it's easier to just, once it's on the body, you just bring it down a couple rows and just give it that little bit of extra security and just weave it through a couple. You don't want to bring it down though, so you want to make sure that it's not sewing the top part down. Just bring it down. And then I'm just gonna, this will probably be short enough that we can just lose it within the body. So we're just gonna go ahead and yeah, it's really short. So we're just gonna go and there you go. And we're just gonna poke these through. Alright, that's one eyebrow on, and we're going to go ahead and we're just going to turn the head over, and we're just going to do the same thing with this eyebrow. We have our eyebrows on. This will all come together once we get him fully attached, because we still have his neck fans and his legs. But there you go, you have the head, the body. Okay, we're going to go ahead and make our head ridges. We're going to be working these in our body colored yarn. We're going to be working in rows, and we're going to have one for the right side and one for the left side. So for the right side, we're going to go ahead and chain 11. We're going to make a slip knot. Just chain 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the second chain from hook. Then we're going to go a half double crochet into the next. We're going to double crochet into the next. We're going to go ahead and make a treble and a double crochet into the next chain. So there's the treble and then the double. And you're going to go ahead and double crochet into the next 4 chains. You're going to half double into the next chain, and then you're going to go ahead and single crochet into the last chain. Now you're going to go ahead and fasten this off, and you're going to leave a long tail because we're going to use this to sew onto the head. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and take our fan color 2, and we're going to attach it to the right side on the first single crochet that we worked with a slip stitch, and we're going to go ahead and chain 3. Now we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the second chain from the hook. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to work into the same base stitch that we attached to and the next stitch, and we are going to half double crochet 2 together. Now we're going to go ahead and stitch a single crochet into the same stitch that we worked the second half of that half double crochet two together. So we're going to single crochet in there. Now we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the next stitch, and then we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the next stitch and half double crochet into that same stitch. Now we're going to go ahead and half double crochet and single crochet into that next stitch, and now we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then we're going to go ahead and single crochet, or we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into that last stitch. And this is our right ridge. We're going to go ahead and cut our brown yarn. We're going to fasten it off. Now we're going to go ahead and weave in the end just weave it on in. And we're going to weave in the starting end as well. Just cut them really close. Careful not to cut your yarn that you want to keep. Okay, now to make the left side one, we're going to go ahead and chain 11 once again. Now we're going to go ahead and single crochet into that second chain from the hook. We're going to half double crochet into the next. We're going to go ahead and double crochet into the next 4 stitches. So we're going to double crochet again, and again, 3 and 4. And then we're going to go ahead and double crochet and treble crochet into this next stitch. Then we're going to go ahead and DC into the next, double crochet into the next stitch. We're going to go ahead and half double crochet. Then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into that last chain. Then we're going to go ahead and fasten off. And we're going to leave a nice long thread because this is how we're going to sew it on. Now with our right side facing, we're going to go ahead and take our neck fan color 2 again. We're going to attach it to that first stitch. We're going to go ahead and chain 1, and we're going to go ahead and single crochet into that same stitch. No, wait. Take our neck fan color 2, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into that first stitch, and we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to end up with 5 single crochets. So 5 single crochets. Now we're going to go ahead and single crochet and half double crochet into the next stitch. So single crochet and a half double crochet. Now we're going to go ahead and half double crochet into the next stitch, and we're going to slip stitch into that same stitch. Now we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the next stitch, and we're going to single crochet into the next stitch. Now we're going to go ahead and work in the same stitch here, and we're going to go ahead and put a half double crochet together, that stitch and the last stitch here. We're going to half double crochet those 2 together. And we'll go ahead and chain 1, and we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the back of that chain 1. Now we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the side of the half double 2 crochet together that we did. Just going to slip stitch there, and now we're going to go ahead and slip stitch down here in that same stitch. I'm going to go ahead and fasten that off. And this is our left side. We're going to go ahead and weave in those brown ends, or our fan color 2 ends. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and weave these in, and I'll be back. Okay, now I have my right and my left side head ridge, and how we judge this is with the face facing to you, right hand, left hand. Now we're going to have the peaks are in the back, so if you accidentally mix them up, that is okay. Just know that the little pointy peak is going to be in the back of the head. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and place these, and they're going to go between rounds 9 and 19 of the head, and they're going to be about 2 stitches apart, resting between the nostrils. So remember, we had the 4 stitches between the nostrils here. Now is where we're going to use that, and this was between rounds 15 and 14. So we have 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. So we're going to put 9 right there is where the edge is. Now 19 is about where the nostrils are. So basically we're going to want this to be right about here, and we're going to have the, we're going to put a pin in there for now. Be careful because it is very narrow, so if you have long pins like I do. And we're going to place both of these before we decide where we're sewing. And remember, we want row 19, so the quickest way to find it is these are between 14 and 15. So 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, and 9. So right here is the round that you're going to have and then we're going to bring this down to right about here in round 9. Now this part here, take your time. You want it to be in on the center. This is the head ridge that these Dilophosauruses have. That's pretty much a signature part of their facial structure, so make sure that you get this the way that you want it before you sew it. And I usually like to bring it in so it's at an angle, and then I will bring this back out. It's about there, and it'll be right about right there. And then when I sew it, we're going to sew into the bottom chain. You're going to sew along the bottom chain. You're going to seam this chain here to the head, and you're going to leave the rest of it loose, and it's going to be worked in a way so that it kind of stands up. So you want to make sure that it is about how you want it, and that would be about how he's got his quirky eyebrows going on. And this is easy to fix as you work through it too and make it stand up straight. So we're going to go ahead and start with this one. We're going to start with the right. We're going to go ahead and thread our needle. And it's going to start right about there. And we're just going to bring it down. And we're going to right there. Now we're just going to go ahead and just seam it up. Remember, you're only working under that initial chain stitch area because you want this to stand up. You don't want this to be sewn down. You want it to nice and stand up so that it gives that height. Don't be afraid to move it as you're sewing if you notice that it is not lining up the way that you'd like it to. And we have one sewn out. And that's going to go right there. It's about on the side of the nostril, and it goes back above the eye. And we're going to go ahead and weave this in. We're going to go ahead and snip that off. And we're going to take the other end of the tail and we're going to just weave this on in as well. Just going to bring this on down. And just snip that off. And then we're just going to go ahead and repeat the same thing with this side. And there you have it. You have your head ridges, you have your nostrils, you have your head. It's squished around on me from moving it around under the camera, but just play with it until you get it how you like it. and that is your head ridges attached. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and make our arms. We will be making 2 of these. So once you make one, you're going to go ahead and make another one exactly the same way. So we're going to take our body colored yarn, and we're going to go ahead and make a magic ring with 6 stitches. For round 2, we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into each stitch around. Alright, so round 3, we're going to go ahead and single crochet into each stitch around. Okay, round 4, we're going to go ahead and single crochet 2 together. And then we're going to single crochet into the next 2 stitches. Go ahead and mark our first stitch. And we're going to go ahead and repeat 2 more times. So we're going to go ahead and single crochet 2 together, and then single crochet 2. Single crochet 2 together. Rounds 5 through 7, we're going to go ahead and crochet a single crochet into each of the 9 stitches around for 3 rounds. So we're going to have 3 rounds of 9. Okay, after round 7, we're going to go ahead and we're going to lightly stuff the arm. I want to stuff this as you go because it's tiny little pieces, and it's easier to do this before we make the bend. So we're just going to go ahead and stuff the top part of the arm. The next 2 rows are going to be the same. We're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next stitch, and now we're going to go ahead and slip stitch. Make sure not to pull these too tight into the next 2 stitches. Now you're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 2 stitches. You're going to go ahead and half double crochet into the next 3 stitches. And then you're going to go ahead and single crochet into the last stitch. And we're going to go ahead and do that again. So we're going to go ahead and single crochet into that first stitch. You're going to slip stitch into the next 2 slip stitches. And you're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 2 stitches. And you're going to half double crochet into the next 3. And single crochet into the last. Now that just made the elbow. The half double crochet is going to be the elbow, and this here is where it bends, like when you bend your arm. That's what the slip stitches are going to be. So this is going to be the top of your arm, this is the bottom. Round 10, we're just going to go ahead and slip stitch, or we're going to go ahead and put a single crochet into each stitch around, which is 9 stitches. Round 11, we're going to go ahead and single crochet the first 2 stitches together, and then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into each of the remaining 7 stitches. Now we're going to make sure we're just stuffing as we go. Get that elbow nice and good so it has a nice little bend to it. round 12, we're going to go ahead and single crochet 2 together, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to single crochet in each of the 6 stitches. Now round 13, we're going to go ahead and single crochet the first 2 stitches together, and then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the 5 remaining stitches of the round. Now if you find it easier to use a stitch marker here to mark your stitches, please do so. I find that when you're dealing with around 6 stitches, it gets a little rough, but make sure you are keeping track of the stitches. If you cannot do it without a stitch marker, absolutely use your stitch marker. Okay, at the end of round 13, we're just going to do one last little itty bitty stuff of the last couple stitches before we seam it together and make the hand. Okay, so to make the wrist, you want to make sure that you have the elbow and the bend, and you're going to go ahead and pinch together, and we're going to go ahead and work into each side, and we're going to make 3 stitches. So we're going to be working into the first 3, which is a little bit tricky to get to because we are going to be utilizing every single stitch. There's not going to be any left over, so you have to twist your hook a little bit. Here's your first stitch, and then this here is where your last stitch is. So you're going to put it through this stitch and this stitch as well. And you're just going to go pull your yarn through, and you're just going to place a single crochet there. And then we're going to go through the middle 2 stitches, and then we're going to go ahead and go through the last stitch. And then that is your 3 stitches. Now we're going to go ahead and chain 1 and turn, and we're only going to work into the front loops only of these 3 stitches, and we're going to place a single crochet into each one of them. 2 and 3. Now we're going to go ahead and chain 1 and turn. We're going to place a single crochet into each stitch across. So 1, 2, and 3. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to single crochet into second chain from hook, and we're going to single crochet in the next 4 chains. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the same stitch as the chain. This is going to twist the first toe. You're going to go ahead and you're going to twist it, and you're just going to slip stitch in there, and that'll bring it down. And that'll bring it down. And then what you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to single crochet into the next stitch. And now we are going to repeat that whole toe process. So we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are going to go ahead and single crochet into second chain from hook, single crochet 4 chains down, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the same stitch, and we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next stitch. We're going to go ahead now and make another toe, which is chain 6, and we're going to work our way back to the toe. So we're going to single crochet, 2, single crochet on that. Now instead of working a single crochet into the next stitch, what we are going to turn around and do is we're going to go ahead and work 2 slip stitches down the sides here. So we're going to slip stitch there, and we are going to slip stitch here, and now we're going to go ahead and we're going to fasten off. We're going to leave a tail. I'm going to run it through these 4 stitches here. And now you're going to go ahead and bring it up through the arm, up to the side, and then this is what we're going to use to sew on the arm. Straighten out your arm. You're going to finagle your toes if you need to. Now we're going to put the claws on. We're going to take our needle and the black thread, or our claw colored thread if we're not using black. We're going to go ahead and insert it here at the edge, and we're just going to go ahead and we're going to loop through 4 to 5 times. Get that done, you're just going to go ahead and you're going to knot it 3 times. So you knot it once, twice, 3 times, and you're going to go ahead and take and you're going to bring in, you're going to thread your yarn again, and you're going to actually weave, you're going to weave the edge of the tail back up through couple stitches. We're just going to cut this side here. I'm just going to weave this up through a couple stitches. And you're just going to very carefully trim off of the excess claw color. And you're just going to repeat that now on all 3 claws. Okay, once we have our claws done, we're going to go ahead and take our body, and we're going to go place our arm. We want to follow the line of our neck with the shoulder resting around 48 of the body, and just bring these up and down. So we're going to go ahead and pin this into place, and we're going to check the other side. and make sure it's nice and even. And round 48. And we're going to follow. This is the chest piece. We want this to bulge out a little bit from where we place the arms. And once we get them placed, we're just going to go ahead and sew them up here and to about the elbow, leaving the rest of the arm loose. Okay, and once you get your arm sewed on, he's going to look something like this. And you can start to see him coming together. And remember, sometimes the yarn takes a little bit of fluffing. But we're going to have the arms down here. You can just play around with the fingers so you get them how you want them. But that is Dexter with his arms on. Now all we have left is the legs and the head fans. The legs are made in 4 parts that we've seen together. We're going to go ahead and start with the first part of the legs. So go ahead and take your body colored yarn, and we're going to go ahead and place 6 single crochet into the magic ring. In round 2, we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into each stitch around. We're going to end up with 12 stitches. Okay, for round 3, we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into the first stitch and a single crochet into the next stitch. And then we're going to go ahead and repeat this section 5 more times so that we have 18 stitches around. Round 4, we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into the first stitch. And then we're going to single crochet into the next 2 stitches. And we're going to repeat that another 5 times around so we have 24 stitches. Now rounds 5 through 7, we're going to single crochet into each of the 24 stitches around. That's going to be a total of 3 rounds of 24 stitches. Okay, at the end of round 7, we're going to go ahead and we're going to single crochet the next 2 stitches together, and then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 6 stitches, and we're going to go ahead and repeat that 2 more times. So at the end of round 8, we're going to have 21 stitches. Moving on to round 9, we're going to go ahead and single crochet the first 2 stitches together, and then we're going to single crochet into the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to repeat that 2 more times till we have a total of 18 stitches. Okay, round 10, we're going to go ahead and single crochet together the first 2 stitches, and then we're going to single crochet into the next 4 stitches. So we're single crocheting 2 together and then single crocheting 4, and we're going to repeat that 2 more times until we end with 15 stitches. For rounds 11 through 12, we're just going to go ahead and single crochet into each one of the 15 stitches around. So we're going to have 2 rounds total of 15 stitches. Okay, well, now that we are done, we have the 2 rounds of 15. We're going to go ahead and move on to round 13. For round 13, we're going to go ahead and single crochet the first 2 stitches together, and then we're going to place a single crochet in each of the remaining 13 stitches to end up with 14 stitches in the round. Okay, for round 14, we're going to go ahead and single crochet the first 2 stitches together, and then we're going to place a single crochet into each of the remaining 12 stitches around. And now we're back to round 15. And for round 15, we're just going to go ahead and single crochet those first 2 stitches together. And then we're going to place a single crochet into each of the remaining 11 stitches per 12 stitches around. Okay, once we are done with round 15, we're going to go ahead and we are going to stuff this section lightly. stuff this lightly. You don't want to stuff it too much. I'm going to place stuffing. We don't want this to bulge too much. We just want to have a nice little rounded shape. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is, when we're happy with how it is stuffed, we're going to go ahead and for round 16 we are going to go ahead and single crochet 2 together 6 times around so that we end up with 6 stitches left. Now what we're going to go ahead and do here is we're going to pull through a tail. And we make it a little bit long because we're going to be bringing it up through the top and using it to sew on to the body. So we're going to go ahead and snip that. Make sure it is stuffed. One last check that it's stuffed as much as you are. I have a little bit of a weakness down here, so we're going to put just a little bit more into this for mine. And again, you don't want to overstuff it, but you do want to make sure that it does have somewhat of a stiffness to it. There we go, that's much better. And we're going to go ahead and take our needle. We're going to thread the yarn on. And then we're going to go around and we're going to pick up the front loop only of round 16. So 6 front loops only. 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we're just going to go ahead and pull tightly to close it. And then we're going to take this tail and we're going to bring it up and we're going to bring it through. And then this here will be how we sew it to the body once we make the rest of the leg. So that is the first part of the leg. For now we're going to work on the second part of the leg, and we are once again going to take our main body color. We're going to go ahead and leave a bit of a tail, and then we're going to go ahead and make a slip knot, however your method is that you choose to use. And then we're going to go ahead and chain 9. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, being very careful not to twist the yarn, we want to go ahead and we want to place a single crochet into the back bump of the first stitch. And we're just going to go ahead and place a single crochet there. Now we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into the remaining 8 chains so that we have 9 stitches worked into a loop. And now that we're back, we have 9 stitches worked into the chain into a nice little open-ended loop here. What we're going to do for rounds 2 through 4 is we're just going to go ahead and single crochet into each one of these 9 stitches around for 3 rounds of 9 stitches. Okay, once we are done with round 4, we're going to move on to round 5, and for round 5 we're going to single crochet the first 2 stitches together, and we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each one of the remaining 7 stitches. And then once we have our 8 stitches around, we're going to go ahead and fasten off, leaving a long tail. And we have our second part of the leg finished. We are now working on legs part 3. Once again, we're going to go ahead and work in our body colored yarn. We're going to go ahead and chain 8 to start. So go ahead and make a slip knot. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and take, being careful not to twist, and we're going to work into the back bump of the first single crochet that was made. And we're going to place a single crochet. Just like that. Now we're going to go ahead and work a single crochet into each of the remaining 7 stitches around. And now we have 8 stitches around. We're going to go ahead and move on to round 2, and we're going to place 2 single crochets into the first stitch, and then we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each one of the remaining 7 stitches. Now for round 3, we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into the first stitch, and then we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each one of the remaining 8 stitches. At the end of round 3, we're going to have 10 stitches, and we're going to go ahead and move on to round 4. And for round 4, we're going to place 2 single crochet into each of the first 2 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to go ahead and mark that first one as we've been doing. And now we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each of the remaining 8 stitches. For round 5, we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to place 2 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So 1, okay, and make sure to mark that first stitch we did, and then we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into the next 9 stitches. For round 6, we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Now we're going to go ahead and place a single crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now for this next stitch, we're going to go ahead and work only in the front loops of this stitch here. We're going to go ahead and place a single crochet and a half double crochet. And now for the next stitch, we're going to place a half double crochet, working only in the front loops again, and a single crochet. And then we're going to go ahead working back now in both loops of the remaining 3 stitches. We're going to go ahead and place a single crochet. And that'll have 18 total stitches at the end of this round. Round 7, we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 3 stitches. We're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Now we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 6 stitches. Now we're going to go ahead and half double crochet into the unworked back loop only here from round 5. So the 2 back loops you didn't, we're going to go ahead and place half double crochets in those now, and we're going to ignore the stitches we made in round 6. And then we're going to go ahead and work in the last 3 stitches here in both loops, and we're just going to place a single crochet. 2 and 3. I'm going to go ahead and fasten off. And that is the 3rd part of our leg. Now we're going to go ahead and work on the foot bottom. This is the 4th part of our leg. We're going to take our body colored yarn, and we're going to go ahead and place 6 single crochet into a magic circle. Now for round 2, we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochets into each stitch around. For round 3, we're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into the next stitch, and single crochet into the next stitch. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to repeat this 5 more times until we have 18 stitches around. Okay, for round 4, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the first stitch, and then we're going to go ahead and chain 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the second chain from the hook, and then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the remaining 10 stitches. After we crochet our 10th stitch, we're going to go ahead and we're going to slip stitch into the same stitch that we just started the chain, and then we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the next stitch, and then we're going to repeat a chain 12 and back 10 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then we are going to just work our way back till we get to the base again. And once we're back, once again, we're going to slip stitch into the same starting chain, and then we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the next stitch and repeat that one more time to make the third toe. Okay, once we are back at the base, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the same stitch again, and then we're going to go ahead and we are going to slip stitch into each of the remaining 14 stitches. Okay, once we get back to the start, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our toe and we're going to fold it back, and we're going to insert our hook into the start right here into the stitch, and we're going to go ahead and hook our toe, and we're just going to go ahead and place another slip stitch into this section here to hold it together. You might have to hold your yarn so that you can pull through, and just work it through and then slip stitch, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to do that into every single toe. So we're going to insert into the base, and we're going to pull up, and we're going to go ahead and bring it through and just slip stitch, and we're going to do that one more time in the next toe. Now we're going to go ahead and take a very long tail and we're going to fasten off. We're going to go ahead and thread our needle. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and take our needle and we're going to thread on our yarn. And we're going to go ahead and we are going to whip stitch around. And we're going to go ahead and seam up our toes. And we're just going to work our way around each of the toes, and when we get up to the top part, and we get up to the top part of this toe here, we're just going to go ahead and flip it, and we're going to work through on the other side, and we're just going to seam up that side as well. And we're going to do this to all 3 toes. Okay, once you have your 3 toes seamed up, go ahead and we're going to weave in our remaining tail a couple times to secure it, and then we're just going to go ahead and fasten off the remaining bit of this tail. Okay, now that we have our 4 pieces of the leg, we are going to go ahead and we're going to start assembling. This here piece 3, we're going to go ahead and take it with the surface stitches facing downward, and we want to line up this little hook here into the back. And we're going to go ahead and take our tail and we're going to thread it onto our needle here. And we're going to go ahead and start just stitching around and joining these two pieces. Now when you hit where the toes are, we're just going to go underneath and bring it through, up through into the next one. And we're just going to go ahead and bring it down through and then bring it up through the toe into the next stitch. And then after we finish off the toe section, we're just going to go right back to working as a typical whip stitch around. And we're just going to continue this until we have all of the sides stitched up. Okay, once we hit around, we're going to go ahead and just weave in our end. Make sure it's nice and secure. And then fasten off any remaining piece. We're going to go ahead and take our stuffing, and we're going to go ahead and stuff the foot. Now we want to stuff this piece firmly, but we don't want to stuff it so firm that it starts to bulge from the bottom. So we want to make sure it's nice and firm. Okay, once we are happy with how this is stuffed, we're going to go ahead and take the foot part 2, and we're going to take the edge that we decreased the one, so the last part worked, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to stitch it on to the 8 stitches of foot part 3, but we're going to do it such on an angle so that it bends forward. So we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to whip stitch around. Make sure that you are holding it at an angle because you want this to be stitched on crooked and leaning forward. So if you have to work into the next row up of stitches to do so, feel free to do so. This is ultimately going to determine how much tension you have as to how much of a tilt you're going to get, but you want a decent tilt forward. And as you can see, as I'm working this around, it is leaning forward. Once you are all seamed together and you are happy with the slant, we're going to go ahead and weave in so it's nice and secure. And then we're just going to go ahead and cut off any remaining bit of this stretch. I'm going to go ahead and weave in this section as well. Okay, once we have that all woven in and we are a nice band. We're going to go ahead and stuff this. And again, we want this to be stuffed pretty firmly. Without bulging the bottom. Okay, after we have that stuffed, we're going to go ahead and take our leg part 1. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to attach it so that it is sitting at an angle. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to stitch it somewhere along rounds 16 and 13 of leg part 1. Now this might be one of those places where it comes in handy for you to go ahead and pin it into place before you stitch it, because you want to make sure that your angle will allow the height that you wish to have on your body. Okay, and then once you're happy with how it is placed, you're going to go ahead and you are going to seam together, just whip stitch together these two sections. Make sure once we are done, we're going to go ahead and we're going to weave in to secure a little bit of the tail, and then we're just going to go ahead and fasten off any remaining. And there you have one of your legs, and we're going to go ahead and we are going to repeat this a second time until we have 2. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our toenails on our claws the same way that we did for the fingernails, using our needle and some black thread. Okay, once we have our 2 legs with the toenails, we're going to go ahead and we're going to position them on our body. We are going to go ahead and have them between rounds 37 and 42, and we are going to make sure we pin these in place before we go ahead and sew them on. So we want to make sure that we can get them. That is the needle. So plumb them in place. About where I'm going to be putting these. Make sure they're even. Adjust them if you have to. And then you're going to go ahead and take your tail and you're going to sew them into place. And once we have our legs sewn on, we have one last part to do for the dino, and that is make the neck fans, and we are going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, now we are going to go ahead and work on the neck fans. We're going to go ahead and start with our neck color 1. In this case, it's going to be tomato red. If you're following along with the written pattern and using that colorway though, you are going to want to be using coffee bean. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take our neck color 1, we're going to make a slip stitch, and we are going to go ahead and chain 13. 5, 6, 7, 10. We're going to go ahead and place 2 half double crochet into the second chain from the hook. And we're going to half double crochet into the next 10 stitches. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to place 2 half double crochet into the last chain. And this is going to be a total of 14 stitches across. We're going to go ahead and chain 1 and we're going to turn. Now for row 2, we're going to go ahead and place 2 half double crochets into the first stitch, and then we're going to go ahead and place a half double crochet into each of the next 12 stitches. 12, and then we're going to go ahead and place 2 half double crochet into the last stitch. We're going to go ahead and chain 1 and we're going to turn. Now we're going to go ahead and place 2 half double crochets into the first stitch to start off row 3. We're going to half double crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. And we're going to go ahead and place 2 half double crochets into each of the next 2 stitches. And then we're going to go ahead and place a half double crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to go ahead and place 2 half double crochets into the last stitch, and we're going to go ahead and change to our neck color 2 before we go ahead and close off that last stitch. I'm going to go ahead and chain 1. And go ahead and fasten off our first neck color. And we're going to go ahead and turn. And then row 4, we're going to go ahead and place 2 half double crochets into that first stitch. And we're going to go ahead and half double crochet into each of the next 19 stitches. Chain 1. For row 5, we're going to go ahead and place 2 half double crochets into that first stitch. 2. We're going to half double into the next 7. We're going to place 2 half doubles into the next stitch. We're going to go place a half double crochet into the next stitch. Then we're going to place 2 half double crochets into the next stitch. We're going to go ahead and half double crochet into the next 9 stitches. 9, and then we're going to go ahead and place 2 half double crochets into the last stitch. And we're going to go ahead and chain 1 and turn. For row 6, we're going to half double crochet into the next 13 stitches. And we're going to go ahead and place 2 half doubles into the next stitch. So 1, 2. We're going to go ahead and half double crochet into the next 9 stitches. Now we're going to go ahead and place 2 half double crochets into each of the last 2 stitches. And we're going to go ahead and we are going to fasten off our neck color 2. Now we're going to go ahead and real quickly, we're going to go ahead and weave in our ends. Alright, we're going to go ahead and we are going to take our body colored yarn now. And we're going to go ahead and attach it to that first stitch here, right on the other side of the starting chain. And we're going to go ahead and attach it with a slip stitch and a chain 1. We're going to single crochet into each of these 12 stitches. Okay, once you make your 12 stitches here, you're going to go ahead and place 6 single crochet evenly along the side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 8 stitches. Once we have 8 single crochet, we're going to go ahead and place 2 half double crochet into the next stitch. And then we're going to go ahead and half double crochet into the next 9 stitches. Then once we have those 9 stitches, we're going to go ahead and place 2 half double crochet into the next stitch. And then we're going to half double crochet into the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 5 stitches. And then we're going to go ahead and place 7 stitches along the edge. And then once we get back to the edge, we're going to go ahead and we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch that we made. Okay, you're going to go ahead and chain 2 and slip stitch into the next stitch. And we're going to do this in every stitch around. Chain 2, slip stitch, chain 2, slip stitch, chain 2, and we're going to do this 43 times until we get back to the start here where the first initial 12 stitches start. We're not going to work into these because this is where it's going to be sewn onto the head, but 43 times in all the other stitches around we are going to make this picket. So chain 2 and slip stitch. Okay, once we are done with going around, we're going to go ahead and make a second one, and then we're going to take our 2 pieces that we have and we're going to pin them in place and adjust how they go. You want to sew them to the sides of the head. You want the tops on round 8 of the head, about 1 stitch behind the eye, and then you're going to bring it back down and around so that it sits somewhere. Just under the bottom on round 13 of the body. So somewhere right around there. And we're going to go ahead and place the other one as well because we want them to be even. So again, we're doing round 8, about 1 stitch behind the body, and we're bringing them back down. Now you can go ahead and play with these how you like. Make sure that they are placed how you'd like them and they're even on both sides. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to stitch them into place. When you are stitching these up, you only want to stitch along the bottom stitches and just underneath the V's, because you do not want this to attach to the head more than it has to because they stick out to the sides. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to just go ahead and stitch it, and we're just going to work under, and we're just going to work under that V, just under that V. So that if you were to take and now look, now we have a couple stitches, you can see that it is just underneath, and it's just going to make it stand straight out to the side. So we're going to go ahead and finish stitching this one on, and we're going to go ahead and get that last stitch in there, and we're just going to go ahead and make sure this is nice and secure. And there you go, you have your neck frill on the one side, and then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other. We're just going to go ahead and first tack this in, and as you can see from the back, it's just that one little piece that's caught on. Just go ahead and weave these in, and there you have it. Go ahead and move this out just a little bit. You have your dinosaur. Now go ahead and fluff up the frills, fluff up the face. You have completed your Dexter. I do hope that you have enjoyed this pattern and tutorial, and thank you so much for making Dexter with me. I hope to see you again soon in our next little creation.